From a psycho-spiritual point of view, Shakespeare is asking us one fundamental existential question throughout all the plays. And when he gets to Hamlet, he's starting to make it much more specific and explicit, because he asks, what do you want? Do you want to be or not to be? And then he asks Polonius to expand on that, and by saying and affirming, and this above all to thine own self be true. And it follows like the night the day, like it's inevitable that thou canst not then be false to any man. This is the question he's asking all of us to explore, and this is the question that he's discussing all the way through the plays. This is the pattern that he set up right from the beginning. And what that means, psycho-spiritually, is, do you want to be who you really are, the true self, or do you want to live in the delusion, if you like, of the false selves? Do you want to know your own innocence, or do you want to live in good and evil, the dilemma of good and evil? Do you want to live as a soul, in contact with your divine nature, your spirit, or do you want to see everything through the mind? And judge everything and restrict yourself and your world to what the mind can actually grasp and the things that the mind tends to do with stuff. He expresses it as the native hue. The native hue is the soul, as opposed to the mortal coil, the coils of mortality, like the serpent coiling around the soul, that prevent us from being who we are, if we allow it. But we have a choice. So back in The Merchant of Venice with Portia, he explained that, that it's the lead, the choice. When Bassanio chooses lead, he chooses his soul. I want to be who I really am. As opposed to the false promise, the illusion of silver and gold, the glamour of the world, if you like. And then he plays it down into the characters. Portia represents the divine image of Portia in the box, the image of the divine in the lead box, as opposed to the conflict and the hatred and the contempt that takes place internally between the Shylock and Antonio aspects of us. And then once again in King Lear, he does exactly the same thing. He divides his kingdom into three portions. And to us, it's easy to see that as the outer kingdom, but he's talking about his inner kingdom, which is what he does. He divides himself into three. His heart, his true self, versus his false self, which is Regan and Goneril. And the false self immediately starts to undermine him and let him down until he has the confrontation with the Tempest. And that brings about his enlightenment and his reconciliation with his heart, with his true self, Cordelia. And if you look at the way Shakespeare is telling us this in his extraordinary style, Regan and Goneril, funny names, they're anagrams of anger and religion. So he's telling us something subliminally all the way through. He does this all the way through. So the choice that we've got is, do we want to live in our truth, or do we want to live in the dilemma?